Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take a stack of your sources and unpack the most important insights, just for you. Today, we're diving into some definitely challenging and provocative material. It's excerpts from a book titled Game: How to Meet, Attract, and Date Women.
Yeah, this source offers a very specific viewpoint. It's quite stark at times regarding modern dating and relationships. And just to be clear up front, our goal here is to understand that viewpoint, based only on the text you've shared with us.
Absolutely. Think of this deep dive as, getting a handle on one particular philosophy within the much bigger, often really complex conversation about men and women today. We are definitely not here to endorse or condemn anything in the text. Our job is simply to lay out clearly what the author's perspective is, what claims he makes, and the strategies he proposes, all based on this source material.
We'll pull out the key nuggets, the maybe surprising points, and the core arguments. The idea is to help you quickly grasp the world as this author describes it without getting lost in the weeds or, feeling like you have to agree or disagree.
Exactly. It's about being informed about this specific perspective, whether you find it useful or not. So let's get into it. Let's unpack this source and see what it actually says about the modern sexual landscape and how, according to this author, someone should navigate it.
Okay, so the author kicks things off with a pretty bold claim right away. He says the best era to be a player, which he kind of defines as roughly 1990 to 2010, well, that's over. He argues the whole dating landscape has fundamentally shifted for men, making a lot of the older approaches much less effective now.
And he points to a few things he thinks caused this shift. One is a change he sees in feminism. He claims that after tackling traditional issues, feminism kind of shifted its focus, especially onto college campuses, promoting what he calls rape culture and trying to redefine sex and relationships.
And tied to that is a really strong claim in the source, the assertion that women have been given what the author actually calls a rape card. He claims this can be used, whenever a woman feels regret or sadness after an encounter, basically reframing her feelings as grounds for an accusation, which, in his view, massively increases the risk for men.
Yeah, that's a heavy claim. The source also puts a huge emphasis on technology, arguing that dating apps, online platforms, have just dramatically increased women's dating choices. He even gives this example of girls from small villages now having access to, like, thousands of men globally, some offering huge resources just for a date.
And what's interesting is how the source frames this. This increased female choice is presented as the main reason why men simply must adopt these methodical game strategies. The more options women have, he argues, the harder it gets for men, so it requires conscious effort, technique.
He even suggests that teachers, like himself, are part of the problem, contributing to what he calls a game arms race by raising women's expectations. And he predicts things will just keep getting tougher for men in dating for decades, mostly because of tech.
Yeah, and if you connect that to the bigger picture he paints, the source contrasts the past where a man wanting marriage was seen as normal with the present. Now, he claims, wanting marriage is seen as crazy. He argues modern marriage is a bad deal for men, citing, severe punishments for failure like divorce laws, alimony, asset stuff.
Which leads into his view of the modern woman. The author claims all this constant attention from countless men actually degrades her personality, her humanity even, makes genuine connection really difficult. He uses that striking analogy, doesn't he? Trying to find lasting love is like trying to have a deep chat with a cat that just wants to chase a laser dot, easily distracted by fleeting validation.
Right. So if that's the challenging landscape he's describing, where does he say a man should even start? He outlines these detailed strategies, but begins with foundational elements, things he believes are critical before you even approach anyone.
Yeah, it's not just about pickup lines or techniques. The source puts a massive emphasis on what it calls internal game, working on your mindset, your beliefs first. The core idea seems to be that your beliefs drive your behavior, so you have to get those right before anything else.
An essential belief he pushes is captured in that phrase, I don't care if I get laid with her, but I do care about getting laid. It relates to that whole don't put pussy on a pedestal idea. He argues that showing way more interest in a girl than she's showing in you, that's like guaranteed failure. It's about managing your own investment.
Right. Avoid being too eager, basically. Another key belief is embracing rejection. The source sees it not as failure, but as like an essential step, something that strengthens you. It argues comfort makes a man weak, while dealing with rejection builds resilience. The advice is kind of push interactions until it's clearly rejection so you experience real setbacks, not just imagined ones.
Which connects to the idea that you control how she treats you. The principle is, if she pushes me away, I must pull away.
Hmm.
And if you pull back and she doesn't, re-engage positively, then the author claims she's not testing you, she's genuinely not interested. An interested girl, according to him, signals encouragement, tries to keep you there.
The source also frames game itself as just a tool, right? Not a lifestyle or identity. You use it when you want sex or intimacy, and you stop when you're satisfied. He describes his own pattern of doing these focused campaigns of approaches only when he's single and actively looking.
Yeah, and what's interesting is he calls game a scavenger tool, meaning it needs constant tweaking. Trends change, demographics shift. He mentions places like Eastern Europe or Asia becoming harder for Western men because, in his view, local women's expectations are rising due to tourism and stuff, so the strategies have to adapt. He thinks the world's just going to keep getting harder for men in this area.
And philosophy-wise, he
Oh.
explicitly says don't use persuasion or trickery. The goal, he says, is present your best self and just advance attraction that's already there naturally. Don't try to convince her.
Right, just advance it. And to help internalize these beliefs, the source suggests using autosuggestions, like writing down 5 to 8 key belief statements and repeating them daily, kind of like self-programming.
Okay, so mindset is huge. But beyond that, the source really hammers home the importance of physical and biological factors.
Mm.
Claims are more important than ever because modern culture, he argues, programs girls for sexy and hot men.
Oh yeah, it gets into biology, specifically testosterone levels. The source links low T to lack of interest in women and higher anxiety. Suggests guys get their levels checked. And recommends improving T through diet, sleep, some supplements, and especially weight training, calls that a keystone habit. But advises against TRT unless it's medically needed.
Physical appearance, too, that's crucial in his view. Talks about grooming notes. Most women prefer less body hair on men now. Says optimize your hair, beard, but only if it still feels like you. Feeling uncomfortable hurts your confidence. And he points out her perception might differ from yours, like boldness might signal maturity to her.
Hygiene gets really specific, practical advice. Focuses on bad breath, especially from the tongue, suggests scraping it. And for underarm odor, strongly recommends baking soda, just a tiny bit after showering, as a powerful deodorizer.
And style.
Mm.
Presented as the first way girls categorize you. Muscle signal youth, plaid signals trendy, suit signals success, that kind of thing. Advises matching style to your strengths, experimenting, but ultimately prioritizing how the outfit makes you feel if you're unsure how it lands.
And according to the author, improving all these basics, beliefs, body, looks, hygiene, style, even your voice and body language can drastically boost your effectiveness. Make such a strong first impression that the actual conversation becomes, well, less critical.
Okay, so foundation laid, internal, external. How does the source say you actually initiate contact then? It talks a lot about approaching.
Yeah, the source is really clear on this. To get good at game, you have to practice. And primarily through cold approaches, meaning approaching strangers. He argues social circle game is harder for refining specific tactics, and internet dating, in his view, attracts lower quality girls and just reduces you to your photos.
He gives specific numbers too. Recommends at least 5 approaches a week just to avoid getting rusty. And suggests 5 to 20 a week is ideal for beginners. Emphasizes that even just doing 1 approach a day, even if you're not feeling social, is doing the work.
Logistical tips too, like rotating venues. Don't hit the same indoor spot more than 3 times a week, maybe only once for small places so you don't become that guy. But he also warns, don't let the numbers goal override a real connection. If you click with someone, spend the evening with her. Don't just ditch her to hit your quota.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting and maybe controversial for some listeners. The role of horniness. The source claims being more horned up actually reduces anxiety and increases persistence. Suggests limiting masturbation to maybe once a week or 2.
Yeah, and he's got a really strong stance against porn. Claims it seriously reduces overall horniness, makes men attracted to what he calls the trashiest girls, and crucially dulls your sensitivity to subtle female cues. He argues quitting porn makes you more sensitive to body language, maybe even leads to spontaneous arousal around clothed women, which he sees as like an internal homing beacon.
Wow, okay, so moving to the actual approach. He talks about sensing attraction before speaking pre-minute attraction. Yeah. Claims girls can sense an attractive man nearby, and if your eye contact isn't met, she almost certainly isn't highly attracted. He even suggests the type of girl who does make eye contact tells you your rating in that city. And if your looks are lower, you need status or local fame for the hot girls, as he terms them.
So eye contact is a big initial filter. Then he outlines 2 main approach styles, direct and indirect. Indirect is asking for help, directions, bar recommendations, stuff like that. He prefers this, claims it creates less resistance, makes you look less like a pickup artist to security.
Direct is telling her something specific. You like her appearance, her vibe, bolder, more obvious interest, maybe gets you to the date question faster. But the source says it requires you to kind of consciously amp yourself up to overcome hesitation. Conclusion, both work. Choose based on the situation and what makes you less anxious. Flake rates are similar, he claims. The warm approach is flake less.
And he gives a flow for these. Day game, indirect approach. Ask for help, then ramble about the topic, like coffee preferences. While rambling, repeatedly drop WACF bait. YACF stands for where I came from. The idea is to subtly hint about yourself until she asks you. Gets her to invest by showing curiosity rather than you just info dumping.
For direct date game openers, examples are like complimenting her walk, maybe saying you noticed a sadness in it, or asking, maybe you're not from here.
Night game openers can also be indirect, asking for bar advice based on music preference. If that falls flat, he suggests stacking it with a "you look like" opener. Guessing ethnicity based on features, explaining why. Tries to spark more personal chat.
And how you speak matters too. Clear enunciation, slightly slower pace than normal. Claims it hides nerves, conveys confidence like you expect to be listened to. Advises against faking high energy unless it's natural for you and the venue. Faking seems phony, attracts the wrong girls, he says. Prefers a calm, collected hunter vibe.
Okay, so you've made contact. Now, building attraction and escalating. The source argues if you nailed those foundational elements, mindset, looks, vibe, the first impression is so strong the conversation itself is actually less critical. Initial attraction helps girls overlook minor conversational slip-ups, basically.
He breaks attraction into three types. Right. Pre-minute, first impression, post-minute, built-in conversation humor, personality, and reputational, your status in a group or place. Claims you need at least one for initial interest, but two or three makes sexual escalation highly likely.
And he notes, weak pre-minute attraction makes post-minute much harder unless you have some amazing hidden talent like guitar skills or killer jokes. Reputational attraction is seen as very powerful. Girls are more receptive if you're already known, positively popular bartender, local socialite, though he admits that fame can be fleeting or stuck in one place.
Okay, conversation tactics. Again, no persuasion, let attraction bloom. Mentions a framework, GALNUC or LUC, where C is crucial for asking for the date.
And he's firm. Ask for the date, not just the number. If she's not enthusiastic about a date then and there, the number's probably useless. She's already signaling low interest and follow-through.
For conversation flow, especially cold approach, rambling is important. Recommends reading books one a month for topics and watching Seinfeld for rambling structure and humor.
Balance talking and listening, obviously. Give her space. If she gives short answers, maybe she's dull or maybe needs a drink to loosen up on a date. Sharing anecdotes, travel, job stories shows value, helps her visualize your world.
Suggest interesting factoids, did you know? But warns strongly against debating sensitive topics early on. Family, politics, relationships, culture. Claims modern girls tie identity to political views, so clashes kill attraction fast. Suggests using "I read that" to gently test your stance first.
This leads to another tactic. Why do you questions? Asked neutrally. The purpose, he explains, is signaling you have standards, you're evaluating her. Example, asking why she has short hair to gauge openness to your preferences later.
And later on, say an hour into a date, comfortable silence is better than boring chat, he argues.
He advises against talking directly about sex, implies she doesn't already want it, but does suggest making comments implying you don't judge girls for sleeping around. Argues this might lower her resistance to getting intimate quickly.
What about modern stuff, like phone use?
Address excessive phone use directly if it feels disrespectful, he says. Don't just tease.
And she tries to qualify you asking screening questions like, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Use agree and amplify, he suggests. Playfully refuse standard answers, turn the frame back on her, maintain control.
Teasing is presented as really important. Shows you're selective, have higher value. Use fake boasting, humorously highlight her low value or your high value. Good tease gets a smile or playful hit.
Okay, let's shift to physical escalation. The source calls this crucial.
Yes, argues touching is essential. Primes intimacy, shows intent beyond friendship. Claims touch communicates more powerfully than words for building sexual tension.
Advises consciously reminding yourself to touch if it's not natural. Start small form, back of hand while talking. Multiple small touches build expectation, craving. These pave the way for bigger touches hip, lower back, which pave the way for kissing, which paves the way for sex. Don't skip steps, he emphasizes.
Using a hand on her back to guide, offering a hand in crowds natural ways to touch, claims she's more likely to take your hand if you've already established contact.
He also introduces this idea of changing locations, even just moving within a bar, as a compliance test.
Right, a compliance test, according to the source, is a small request to gauge her attraction and willingness to follow your lead.
He argues if she refuses small things, moving spots, going to the bar with you, it signals low attraction, low likelihood of complying with bigger requests later, like a date or going home with you. Non-compliance after 2-3 tries usually means she's just entertained, not truly attracted, in his view. Getting her number is a small test, but more likely to lead to a date if she's passed other tests first.
How do you know if she's ready to be kissed, according to this source?
Key sign. She doesn't move her head back as you lean in slightly. Suggests using flyby tests, lean in part way, maybe a foot, then 3 inches. Combined with touching her hip or lower back. Gauges readiness, builds tension.
Flyby tests.
Okay.
Small, non-committal moves to check her reaction
Got it.
and getting her back to your place.
Suggest it after 15+ minutes of good chat. Have reasons, ready music, drinks, just relaxing somewhere quieter. If she says no, ask why. Address the objection if you can. Still no. Try again later, maybe 30-60 minutes. Or suggest a different venue. After multiple no's to the invite, suggest a short walk towards your place as a last resort. Have multiple excuses ready. Show her music, photos, get her opinion on your sofa, whatever. Aim for about 5 no's before giving up on the invite for that night.
And going to her place.
Use the excuse of getting food drink elsewhere because you're bored or tired. Find out her living situation first, roommates. Then describes the bathroom move.
Ah, yes, the bathroom move. Pay the taxi, let her go in first, then immediately ask to use her bathroom because you really have to go.
The source warns, though, don't rush things if she's not complying. Shows neediness. Don't just run routines. Pay attention to her responses.
Which brings us to a really sensitive point the source tackles. Physical escalation and resistance. The author claims female nature requires male persistence for arousal, but acknowledges the cultural shift, where persistence can now be seen as rape.
Yeah, he tries to navigate this by recommending specific steps. Stop after 3 clear no's during physical escalation, spaced out by a few minutes.
Yeah.
After the 3rd no, he says you must state you respect her decision and need explicit consent to continue physically.
And he's very clear. If she says stop, it means stop. Ignoring negative words or actions turns it into using her as a sex doll, not seeking connection, which he says isn't game.
Also notes practically, moving to the bedroom is often easier than escalating on a couch, especially with roommates around, making it awkward.
Okay, moving past the initial hookup. The source gives advice for post-sex and relationships.
Yeah, even includes example comebacks for what he calls rude post-sex comments questioning masculinity, like, I'm flesh and blood, not a robot.
And he offers a definition for a relationship.
Yeah.
Sex on at least 5 different occasions.
Advises not dropping game completely after sex or in a relationship, especially if being yourself didn't work initially. Keep monitoring her attraction level.
Then there's a big section on training girls
Yeah.
and setting standards. Argues you start early, maybe even with that why do you question on date 1. Convey you have expectations, expect to be pleased. Focus on a few critical standards, not be authoritarian. Codify them mentally.
Examples he gives: hair length, homemaking expectations, more for long-term, sexual exclusivity, defining cheating to include entertaining suitors.
Right. Entertaining suitors, meaning any interaction with other men suggesting romantic or sexual possibility, even without physical contact.
And here's a controversial claim. Men and women should have different standards due to biology, cites male friends wanting sex versus female friends not, argues feminism expecting equality here leads to resentment.
Which ties into power dynamics. Strongly advises, don't let her gain leverage, finances, legal ties like marriage, unless you have an escape hatch to end things with minimal harm if she stops complying. Prenup mentioned for marriage.
Insists she must accept you as you are, has no right to change you. If she pushes too hard, point to the door. Claims resisting her nagging increases attraction because it shows you're stronger. Deal with insults directly, immediately. Belated responses are weak.
And argues getting into arguments selectively can increase attraction, shows dominance. Her anger is a test of your strength, he claims.
Dealing with her friends, assumes every girl has a slutty or feminist friend trying to sabotage things. Recommends being blunt about that friend's nature, not trying to control who she sees.
For long-term relationships, boredom is the biggest issue after 6 months, he says, both in and out of bed. Claims most female conversation isn't stimulating for men.
The solution offered: don't let her monopolize your time. Do your stuff, read, hobbies, shows. She can join, but you set your agenda. Happy relationship for a man doing what he wants with his girl nearby, not being her entertainer. Convey this expectation.
Moving towards family marriage. By 1 year, know if she's the one for that. Staying long-term monogamously without that goal is a waste of time, in his view.
Reiterates the claim. Modern marriage equal all upside women, all downside men, no fault divorce, alimony, assets, custody, anti-male DV laws. Prenup helps reduce leverage.
Also observed, claims girls can get more bitter immoral with age. Take precautions, but enjoy the moment if no red flags. Enter marriage from strength. She's your best option, confident odds. Not weakness, fear of loneliness, which blinds you.
Breakups. Easier if she does it first, he claims. Less regret, less stalking risk. Harder if you break up over crisis, lying, cheating.
And again, cheating includes emotional cheating, entertaining suitors. Refusing to tolerate this prevents being a cuckold in his terms.
A cuckold being a man whose partner is unfaithful, by his definition. And finally, chronic failure. 500-plus approaches, little success. Likely causes standards too high for your area or social dysfunction.
Wow. Okay, so we've covered a huge amount there. From his bleak view of modern dating to incredibly detailed strategies for everything from mindset to marriage.
Yeah.
All from his specific, often controversial viewpoint.
Yeah, it's definitely a system that, according to him, demands a lot of effort, learning, constant adaptation from men.
And the source does mention limitations and risks. It's energy and time intensive. Depends heavily on initial attraction, harder if you feel genuinely unattractive. And the risks of STDs, heartbreak with multiple partners.
It also presents that very specific, maybe debatable view on male versus female needs. Men want comfort, stability, sex access. Women want that too, but crave drama if things get too stable, potentially leading them to create it or cheat.
Places this in a cultural context. Argues Western culture makes monogamy harder by not shaming or controlling women like in the past. Claims society's heading towards a sexual dystopia. Advice: be very smart about who you sleep with.
And in that dystopia frame, he even mentions recording sex to protect against false rape accusations. Caveat: check local laws, but says he'd rather be convicted for illegal recording than false rape accusation.
And circling back to whether game is fake, the source argues the need to learn it proves traditional nice traits, loyalty, politeness, aren't desired by women with choices in this degenerate society, as he calls it. Game unleashes the attractive man needed now, he claims. Men have opposites of nice traits: disloyal, rude, stoic, etc. Game brings out the attractive ones for this environment. Claims girls have opposite traits too. Even nurturing feminine has a seed of destruction, a core part of his worldview.
Differentiates social circle game too. Reputational attraction is key there. More fragile gossip, power struggles, exile risk. Success often needs apex male status. Controversially claims rumors of sleeping around help apex male reputation in that context.
Apex male meaning the highest status, most desirable guy in the group, according to the author. And finally, international game tips.
Get a local sim. Have a backstory. Work. Planning to move. Adapt angle. Short-term tourist for slutty tilters. Hint at staying longer for traditional ones. Suggests that in America we have sex first. Routine for some. Address language barriers. Pipelining. Dating multiple girls for limited trips. Short trips. Focus on one-night stands via night game. Approach men for social proof, if alone.
So that was a deep dive into this source, exploring its pretty stark view of modern dating, the challenges for men as he sees them, and the detailed, often counterintuitive, yet controversial strategies proposed as game.
We've definitely heard claims about big shifts in social norms, the huge impact of technology, and very specific, actionable advice on everything from beliefs and hygiene to conversation, escalation, relationships, marriage, all within his specific framework.
Yeah, the source really presents a world where traditional masculinity, as he defines it, is panelized, where female nature is seen through this lens of compliance and testing, and where success with women requires learning specific strategies, suggesting just being yourself isn't enough in the landscape he describes.
It's definitely a perspective that demands significant effort and adaptation from men, arguing the dating world requires specific skills now.
So here's something to think about, based on the source's arguments. If, as the author claims, modern dating is increasingly a complex game driven by these social and tech shifts, giving women more options and requiring these learned strategies from men, what does that imply about the future of, genuine, maybe effortless connection and long-term commitment? And how might understanding this viewpoint, even if you completely disagree with it, change how you observe the interactions happening around you every single day?
That's it for this deep dive. We hope this exploration has helped you understand the core arguments and the specific details presented in this particular source material.